Oh man, what's the business? You already know what time it is. It's your folk Marquise, and welcome to another episode of the Plan Maturity Show. That's right. This is the Plan Maturity Podcast, and I'm extremely excited to be here. Y'all already know what time it is, man. We here at Plan Maturity are here to bring a message of maturity to millennials in their manners in an effort to create the perfect citizen. So check this out, man. I'm super excited, as you already know. I got two amazing guests with me, man. I'm just, man, we just in a resurgence of Black excellence right now. As y'all have known, for those that have listened to me, and if you never have, I love everybody. I love everybody, but I am a man of color, so I do have a special love for my people, and I desire that people that look like me get all that God has for them. And as you can see now in times past, there's been many things that Blacks have had to overcome, and we are still overcoming. But in all honesty and transparency, I do like to say we do have more now than we've ever had. So I've learned to focus on what you do have and put together plans of action to change the things that you don't. So I don't know if y'all knew, but I do have a criminal history. I do have a criminal background. My story, I was raised good, but the streets bad. I did have a knowledge, a foundation of morals and values, came up in the Baptist church. But for some of those that may know about the Baptist church, you go on Sunday, but you didn't party on Saturday and all the other days before. So I didn't personally see what I would call godliness or righteousness or things of that nature. So to me, it was easier to hook up with the wrong crowd, my dogs from back in the day, and do everything that I did: guns, money, drugs, women, the whole nine. That was just my lifestyle. So unfortunately, I did obtain 2 felonies and a gang of misdemeanors. And now I'm at a place in my life where I can openly share that, no shame, because it is what it is. So I kind of look at myself as an ex-felon. Why? Because once I was disenfranchised, but now I have been re-enfranchised, if that's the word. If it ain't, it is today. You feel what I'm saying? So as you may know, when you become a convicted felon, you lose your civilian rights. You lose your civil rights. You lose the right to vote, the right to hold public office. You lose the right to become a notary public. And the biggest one for many of us is you lose the right to bear arms. You lose the right to bear arms, which in my opinion, I don't believe that any other man can tell another man that he doesn't have the right to protect himself or his family, but you lose the right to bear firearms. So by God's grace, I served my, the little time that I did have. I never did prison time, thank you, Lord. But, I paid my debt to society, put it like that. I ain't never rat, I ain't never snitched, which I might speak on today because, my perspectives on that. I want to give proper context to that. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to make a note of that real quick, just so I can come back to that, especially from where actually both of my guests are calling in from today, but specifically one of them I want to hone in a little more because where they're calling from has more of the public's eye, and urban eye, if you will. And so I ain't gonna reveal that just yet. But long story short, man, I had applied to get my rights back, and I got my civil rights back, so I can vote, notary public, office, juror, the whole nine. But just like myself and many other brothers and sisters that can relate, I wanted my pistol rights. I wanted my gun rights. It was to me, it was kind of immature at first. I'm gonna just keep it real with you, because I'm like, I don't even care about, and that's what I'm saying. We're here to bring a message of maturity, creating a perfect citizen. Nobody perfect but God. But there's a level of maturity and wholeness that a person develops over time. So when I say, I thought that it was quite immature to say, I don't care nothing about none of them other rights. I only want the right to carry a pistol. Now that I'm grown and have grown and my mind is much more mature, I see the importance of being able to hold office. You know what I'm saying? If I want to become a mayor, governor, things of that nature, I can truly impact, those that are in my vicinity. I can truly make a change. I'm definitely not, I have no desire whatsoever to be a juror. Excuse me. I just don't have the desire to be a juror. And as far as notary public, that's a very lucrative profession. You know, there's more than just the people in the library stamping stuff. If you didn't know, notary publics make a great living. It is a very, very lucrative endeavor. So I encourage y'all to go check that out. But by God's grace, after gaining knowledge, and my folks today, they're going to drop some knowledge on you. They're going to hit you with them nuggets. I was able to go and apply to get my gun rights back. Woo! I'm going to lean back on that jam right there. I'm going to lean way back, man. You know what I'm saying? And move side to side. Because that's how good I feel. I can tell you firsthand, and I'm talking to my convicted fellas out there, the feeling, the relief that you have subconsciously, because everything ain't conscious. The subconscious shackles that are broken once you're legally able to carry a gun, because you already know what time it is. Some of us gonna carry that thing anyway. You know what I'm saying? Many years ago, I remember my uncle saying something that stuck with me. This was well over 20 years ago. He said, nephew, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. And it took me a pause because I didn't know what he was talking about. But then he dropped it on me like, judged by 12 jurors, 6 carried the casket. And I was like, oh, snap. Meaning I would rather have a position or be in a position where I can defend myself and have to go to jail or prison if I have to, rather than have my people carry me and put me in the ground. You understand what I'm saying? So by God's grace, after having my civil rights back for some time, I went ahead and applied and I got my gun rights back. So now, as I said, I've been re-enfranchised. So now, outside of it being on a document somewhere, it ain't nothing that I can't do. I clap for myself. I pat myself on the back. So I want to impact and encourage many of y'all out there. Now, I will say this. I'm in Virginia, known for being a trip with the Commonwealth, but there may be other states. Go do your own research. One caveat I will say, my charges are not violent charges. Now, even in Virginia, if you got violent felonies, armed robbery, malicious wounding, breaking and entering, you know what I'm saying? I think B&E might, you know, it would make sense because that's, you know, those types of charges. If you do have a valid felon, unfortunately, you are barred for life. But I do want to talk about some alternatives as we go on. But unfortunately, if you do have a valid felony, you are barred for life from carrying a firearm. But if you got drug charges, if you got blue collar schemes, you know, checks, you know, fake check cash and fed type of stuff, any of that stuff, you good to go. Serve your time, you know, whatever time you've done. I think it looks good. I'm not a lawyer. I can't provide any legal advice. This is for educational purposes only. But what I've seen, looking at the system for what it is, present yourself as a person now that's looking to change. You feel what I'm saying? As you present yourself as a person that's looking to be a productive citizen, it gives you a different view. You know what I'm saying? So even though Blacks have had this certain stigma attached to us, if you, within reason, present yourself as more of a civilized individual, within reason, you'll have a better chance, I believe. That's just, you know, because when they want to act up, they're going to act up. But I'm getting ready to bring my guests on, but I wanted to paint this picture so you can see why this is important to me. And yes, I am a veteran of the armed forces. I did 2 tours. I did still serve my country. You understand what I'm saying? So that's one of those things. So yeah, go do your research, find out what your laws are, and make sure you square it away. I would encourage you to pay at least some of your fines. Try to get yourself a job or, you know, start a business. Do something productive and then go petition the court. That's all I did in Virginia. I petitioned the court that found me guilty. And after I was found, I petitioned the court that found me guilty. And after that, they said, do you have your rights restored? I said, yes. We can see that Mr. Trent ain't been in no trouble in so many years. You know, the prosecutor, because it's a legit court hearing, the prosecutor was over there doing what they do. And she was like, do you find any reason why we shouldn't give him his rights back? The prosecutor looked, nah, boom, stamp, gave me the paperwork. I went down there, took it to the state police, did the fingerprint, the whole 9, came back, gave me the documents, was good to go. I went ahead ASAP and went and applied for my concealed. So I am legit, and I can tell you after 16 years, fam, 16 years, almost 2 decades, I'm official. So without further ado, I'm going to bring my guests up, hailing from New York City. I got Miss T.E. Foster. Yes, I got T.E. Foster. She will be joining us along with her, I don't want to say partner in crime, but her battle buddy, as we would say, her buddy, her friend, her I don't know what word we're gonna use, man, but her road dog, for goodness sake, Mr. Kourtney Redmond, tuning in from Chicago. What's up, family? How y'all feeling today? Talk to me.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. I don't think you left anything for us to say after all that.
I try. I'm passionate about this. This is very near and dear to me. You know, this is very near and dear to me. So I'm gonna start, ladies first. Miss Foster, could you tell us who you are, where you're tuning in from or calling in from, and what it is that you do? A little bit about your background.
Sure. As you mentioned, T.E. Foster. I'm gonna state the not obvious at times. Actually, the obvious. I'm Black, not obvious. Sometimes I'm a woman, right? And so also, I'm a member of NAAGA, National African American Gun Association. I'm also a member, well, actually a firearm instructor for the USCCA. Ooh. That's the US Concealed Carry. I'm also a member of the NRA, which is I'm an RSO. I'm a member of Freeport, which we have a shooting club over there, which is precision shooting. I'm what you call a reformed social worker, licensed social worker. And I say reformed because I kind of put that to the side and I'm trying to figure out how do I merge the two into this two-way life. You know, as a social worker, one of the things that we do, it's about healing, right? It's about healing for us. We provide resources, we provide information. We don't have answers, but we provide a bunch of those things as far as resources and helping people to cope with a lot of trauma and things that has taken place. We have the ability to diagnose under the guise of a licensed clinical social worker and provide modalities of treatments and things like that. I'm also very passionate like you are. I can't compare the two. You've lived that life. I also have that colorful background as well in my life. As you mentioned, congratulations, by the way, congratulations. Because a lot of people do not know that they have the ability to gain back their rights.
I did.
You didn't.
No.
So I'm really glad that you brought that up. So congratulations, definitely. But I'm here definitely one of the things we want to do is to educate, empower, and train. That is really the goal. Empower, educate, and train. Not in any specific order, but if I were to put in order, it would be to educate first. You want to empower people and you want to make sure that they stay trained and practice. So that's just a little bit about myself. I'm from New York, one of the strictest, I wouldn't even call it Second Amendment. We just have some laws and rules and ordinance that may not make any, I'm trying to keep it respectful. It may not make as much sense at times. It may look good on paper, but not so much practical. So New York City, however, I'm from New York State, which is a little separate from the New York City. Okay. I'm from Long Island, which is, we have a little bit more leniency as it relates to the 2A, which we'll definitely speak a little bit more about a little later on. But that's me in a nutshell. Definitely love firearms. All day, every day, 2A. That is me.
I like that. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Courtney, how you doing, man? How you doing?
I'm good. I can't complain. You know, even if I did, it wouldn't be no good anyway. You know?
Absolutely, absolutely. Tell the people a little bit about yourself, man. Who you are, your background, where you coming in, where you tuning in from.
Okay. All right, I'm Kourtney Redmond. I am the club president of the 761st Gun Club here in Chicago. That is an affiliate of the National African American Gun Association. I'm a member of the National African American Gun Association. I'm a member of the Second Amendment Foundation. I'm a member of the National Shooting Sports Foundation. I am an instructor with the NRA, the National Rifle Association. I am also a member with the National Rifle Association. I am an instructor with the USCCA, United States Concealed Carry Association. I am qualified in, to teach concealed carry in Illinois. I'm also qualified to teach defensive pistol. I'm also qualified to teach personal protection inside the home, outside the home, rifle, shotgun, and I am also a graduate of the Sonoran Desert Institute. I am a gunsmith. I fix the guns. I fix firearms. I actually can customize them. That's some of the resume, but I also want to talk about, dealing with Chicago, and as many, how can I put it, crimes. And just like Foster said, New York is a strict state and Illinois is a strict state. Illinois is a strict state. Also, you have to obtain what is called a FOID card. That's a firearms owner's ID card in order to purchase firearms or ammunition. That hasn't stopped anything. You have a 72-hour wait period in Illinois. It hasn't stopped anything. Last time I checked,
one moment though, Courtney. I definitely want to get into those things. I wanted to introduce you first because these are some I already know. I definitely want to hear those, but I just wanted people to know who you are first. Then we can start getting to some of the questions. But since you go ahead and started, you can start, and then TE, could you follow up with some of the rules or the laws that y'all find to be interesting or a little more strict? So far, Courtney, you said they have a FOID card. That's a firearms owner's
identification.
Firearms owner. Is that like a license? Because I know in Virginia for years you had to have a license. Like, what is that exactly?
It's pretty much a license, and it's just to say it's a license. It's called the FOID card. The Firearms Owner's Identification Card started in 1968. Actually started in 1968, right before brother Chairman Fred Hampton was assassinated. It actually started in 1960s. And to give a little history about it, why it started in 1968 was the Black Panthers in California after the Mulford Act. Then, so Illinois said they wanted to do something about that, or they wanted to make sure that, firearms are getting in the wrong hands. So 1968, they came up with the FOID Card Act, and it was all because of Mayor Daley Sr. What I mean by senior, we have a Mayor Daley Jr., which was one of our mayors not too long ago, but we have Mayor Daley Sr., which was his father before him. He said that he wanted to ban all firearms, and the reason why he wanted to ban all firearms was because he didn't want those people to riot. He didn't want people to riot. So if you think about 1960s, who had a reason to riot? It was the Black community.
People of color, yeah.
Right, so one of the reasons why I say all gun laws are racist is stemming directly from that. Even looking at in Chicago, the Chicago Housing Authority in 1988 tried to ban firearms. They wanted to ban their patrons or the people that stayed there in the Chicago Housing Authority. That means the projects. They wanted to ban them from owning firearms. They tried. It failed miserably, but they tried. These are the lengths that they will go to try and keep firearms from our community. So talking about the FOID Card Act and we can touch on the Mulford Act also. Mulford Act was enacted in 1964. I may be wrong on that. 1964. Yes, I think it is 1964. 1964, Mulford Act came directly after. At the time, Governor Ronald Reagan came up with the Mulford Act to ban open carry or even carrying a firearm on your person, which the Panthers, the Black Panthers at the time, they were actually legal to carry firearms onto the state capitol and into the state, and the same thing happened in Michigan, because I also was a part of that, to where we went and protest at the Michigan Capitol, and you actually can walk inside the Capitol with your firearm on your person. All right, so I had my AR-15 and I had my pistol on my side.
You said inside the Capitol building?
Yep, in Michigan.
So I think if I can stop you there, at the end of the day, it's one of those things. We've seen historically, and that's where one of my last podcast episodes, when y'all get a chance, go check that out, me and my partner, Chris Honeycomb. Chris, we were talking about that. And it's one of those things where when you look at the laws, who do they affect the most? So we were talking about just racism in general, and I don't want to take the whole episode, beating the horse that we already know, but when you look at the reality of the laws that were implemented, who do they affect the most? You know what I'm saying? Clearly, there's a feeling of a threat that you would try to ban. You'll put the ban out there, but clearly, what was the reason that you did that? Well, you felt the threat due to organized blacks that were peaceful, but it's one thing to be peaceful and you ain't strapped. It's a whole nother ball game to be peaceful and y'all got 150 guns over these joints and y'all know how to use them. So it really don't take a rocket scientist or forensic scientist to understand that there's a perceived threat for organized people that know how to use their firearms. TE, would you like to speak to that at all, or did you have something else you wanted to bring into that mix?
As it relates to the strict gun laws?
Yeah. So yeah, if we could dovetail, I thank you for sharing that, Courtney. Could you share us some of the things? So briefly, Courtney, everything you were referring to, the Mulford Act and the Ford Act, these were specifically in Chicago or specifically in Illinois.
No, the Mulford Act was in California.
Oh, California.
Wound up becoming federal law later on down the line. But the FOIA card Act is strictly to Illinois. It is Illinois law. We still have the FOIA card Act. I would love to do away with it. It is a hindrance, and I'd like to get more into it in just a little bit. And
yeah, because I want to ask you a question about that. I'm going to definitely ask you a question about that since you brought it up. So yes, TE, could you share some of the laws that you've experienced or that exist in New York that you find just a little interesting?
Well, right now, we're kind of battling with who gets the right to carry.
Okay.
And I say carry, conceal carry. Let me be clear with that. Conceal carry. Because at this time, civilians, regular, simple, old Joe Schmoes cannot. However, individuals like the mayor, celebrities, all those people that I guess high profile individuals that life is probably worth more than the common folks.
Wow.
I assume they have their entourage, their armed guards and things like that, but we cannot carry concealed. Our firearms is strictly for the home as far as home defense. But my thought is, what are the odds? And I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, but what are the odds that you have to defend yourself inside your home, opposed to being on the street out and about every day where you spend most of your life, And so that right there is a major problem. And most recently, on the 3rd of November, the Supreme Court, I don't know if you know, they had an oral argument in regards to hearing that the Second Amendment, as far as who has the right to carry. So it's in review at this time. It's I want to say it's the NRA versus Bruin. I don't know if you heard the case. Sorry?
New York State Pistol and Rifle Association.
New York State, yes. Pistol, thank you. Pistol and Rifle Association versus Bruin, which is like 108-year-old case, basically, handgun license law, 108. So at this time, we're kind of waiting, we're hoping and praying. However, on the opposite side or on the other side, it's a double-edged sword. At the end of the day, we might say, well, we want to carry conceal, but that comes with some problems as well. In New York, for instance, when I was doing some research, there's 36,000 police officers that's responsible to kind of like supervise 8.5 million people. So I'm thinking to myself, I said, hey, Siri, divide 36,000 into 8.5. I don't even know what she said, to be honest. I just know that's a lot of people per, So yeah. I personally, the job that a police officer do, I wouldn't want it personally, So I can only imagine if they have to supervise, say, for every one officer, say they have to supervise, say, 9,000 people or whatever. That ratio doesn't make any sense. And at the end of the day, their job is to show up after the fact. So I need to be my own first responder along with my family. And that's what it comes down to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Having been in real world situations myself, like I teach my children, when it go down, it go down. That's what I tell them. Like, when it go down, it go down. Like, stuff happens in seconds. I've been in situations where we just talking, you know, and then within seconds, somebody's shooting in a direction, like within seconds. I mean, I'm like, bro, like, you could have told me that, y'all, you know. But it's like, this is real life, you know. So do you believe that? So this is a better question. If you were able to, so this is for T first and then for you, Courtney. What do you see? So if you had the decision-making power, according to what you just shared with me in New York, if you had the decision-making power and you could just, how would you implement it? Or what do you see a safe society looking like? Meaning, well, classes have to be taken, guns are allowed, so forth and so on. So like, what do you see as a viable option for the state of New York in that type of situation? Before you answer that, I will say that honestly, realistically, as I'm thinking about you talking, because I'm a Southerner, so I love the South, been down in the South. I've been in New York, you know, a few times. I think probably once or twice I was able to actually walk around New York, and I'm like, whoa, like I felt like, you know, I'm starstruck, like, wow, you know, the big buildings and the screen, it is a sight to see. But it's so many people. And just in a real life situation, specifically in the city, I can see big issues with whipping your pistol out, somebody trying to mug you, you whip out and let off one or two. The chances of somebody else getting hit is extremely high. You know what I'm saying? Versus a more open area, you know, where it could be, you know, you pull out and boom, boom, you let off two, you missed him, but you hit Miss Johnson walking across the street, and the other one hit that, like they're right there. Like I was like, oh my God, this is so many people. This is crazy. So I know I kind of went on a little bit, but to bring it back in, if you had to say so, what does that look like to you? What would be a safe, viable option for the citizens look like to you?
Thank you for the question. You kind of answered it as well. I do think it starts from the top. That's the first thing. And I see from the top, a little birdie's told me that, and I'm not throwing shades, a little birdie told me that as far as our LEOs, our law enforcement officers, that they are only expected to qualify once a year. And I'm not sure what that means, or maybe I do, but I don't want to say much about that. But it starts from there as far as serving and protecting. They must be equipped. They must have the skills as well. So it starts from the top, you know, the top. But as far as regular civilians are concerned, we say it: training, practice. Not everybody should have a gun should have a gun. Not everyone that has a gun should have. We know that. You know, there's mental health that's running rampant. There's a lot of things that's out there. So as far as how I would want to implement that, I think you have to qualify. I believe there are some states that you have to really qualify in order to gain your handgun license, or I believe so. I believe that we need qualification. And I'm not talking about just shooting two rounds down range. We're talking about getting tactical with it, you know, and I think that should be at the cost of the government, the states, to be honest. I don't think individuals like that could barely afford their rent in a sense, or whatever the case may, should have to spend their last to do that. If we're talking about community safety or community policing or safety in general, that should be at the cost of the government, you know? So definitely it's a requirement. There should be stages. And just like how we register to qualify our vehicles registration every year, we got to make sure our vehicle is intact, and you can't pass if a light is on and all these things. It's the same process. It's a continual assessment that needs to be done, you know? And obviously you may have a 3-strike rule with that. If you mess up, whatever the case may be, that's it. Maybe that's where you get your rights taken from you. And I would understand that because you're negligent, you know, but it has to be some rigorous assessment and ongoing, not just one time that you forget and now your handgun is in the safe and it's just chilling until something happens, you know, because we're responsible for everything that comes out, every round that comes out that barrel, right? the chamber.
Absolutely.
So therefore, it has to be an ongoing rigorous assessment for both civilians and our LEOs, both.
Before Courtney goes on, thank you so much for that. And I really appreciate that. One thing I want to say is I think sometimes we get too emotional, and we get so emotional that we don't look at the reality of things and how things could be in place. I can respect everything you just said for more than one reason. One, I'm a veteran of the services too. And in my mind, I just look at how we're governed versus how others are governed. At the end of the day, we're a whole country. And I'm gonna make this quick. Sometimes I think they look at it at such a local level, and ultimately it's about control. Really, you don't want to have your civilians so gung ho that they turn on you. So the reality of a coup taking place is real. But even though it's been so long, we've invaded other countries. What if Russia invaded America? What if China invaded America? What if anybody invaded America? In my personal opinion, a large portion of America will get their tail handed to them. It just really would. Most Americans out of shape, not shooting guns, no tactics, no mindset, no, in my opinion, I'm not God, I ain't Superman, so I don't know everything, but just a lot of the people that I have seen versus look at how the Russians come up as children, they shooting AKs. The Chinese is doing, there's so much more discipline. So I don't want to take up his time, but I would say, I think that was a great answer in general, that you care about how your people are operating. Because at the end of the day, if police, the good cops that really did need help, a good cop that may have been gunned down, if you got a trained citizen that could show up and say, bam, hit him with this, the blood clot stop, hit him with the tourniquet if you need to, I would be appreciative that this drug dealer was across the street, but got enough respect for me to save my life versus, you know what I'm saying? So I want to turn it over to you, Courtney, but thank you, T. That was a great answer. What's your thoughts, bro?
Well, thank you. First of all, one thing I want to say is armed society is a polite society. You're gonna think twice if somebody's armed about the whole situation, and we need to discuss more about conflict resolution. I'm gonna avoid a confrontation at all costs.
Okay.
I'm just not going. I'm not going to engage in conflict because I can look like the aggressor. So the second thing is education of the law, education of firearms. So as piggybacking off what TE said is, when you brought up the fact about, you shoot a gun and you can hit an old lady and it's in the back of the bag guy you're trying to shoot. Well, one of the things is education, because you got full metal jacket and you have hollow points. Hollow points are specifically designed to hit the target, sprawl, and cause as much damage to that target and come out at a lesser velocity than a full metal jacket. A full metal jacket is made to go through and just keep on traveling and whatever is in its way to destruct. A full metal jacket is to try to save life beyond the interaction or the self-defense. And so I think we need to discuss that more in the Black community about the difference between full metal jacket and hollow points, and education of firearms, what different firearms, what to get, what not to get. And there's even, one thing is people think that they get their concealed carry card or their CCL or LCC and all other cards in other different states that call different things, and that's it. They get that card and that's it. Even with the permitless carry, they think that they can get a firearm and that's it. They don't need no training or anything like that. But no, you need to know training. You need to know how to operate that firearm. You need how to effectively shoot that firearm, because every bullet comes attached with a load. So every time you take a shot, you're responsible for that bullet. If you do not take the responsibility of learning how to effectively use your firearm, you could find yourself in jail.
Wow.
You could find yourself in deep trouble. And that's one of the problems that we have to talk about. If you don't take the time to go get training and learn the laws, one of the things I heard in the Black community is, they made that permitless carry law because they wanted them white boys to get them guns and shoot us. But permitless carry actually is for everybody.
What is it
also
called?
permitless carry, like Texas.
Permitless
So that
carry.
you don't have to get a
Okay.
permit
Yeah.
to carry a
Like
firearm.
constitutional.
Constitutional carry, permitless carry, they're both the same. So Oklahoma, Texas, I don't want to say Wisconsin. Pennsylvania just had passed a law. Tennessee and a couple more other states have constitutional carry. Even though you don't have to get a permit to get a firearm and carry it on your person, you still need to know the law. In Texas, the law is you can't bring a firearm into an establishment that grosses more than 51% of their revenue off of alcohol, which is considered a bar. The same thing in Illinois. 50%, if you make more than 50% or you make 51% off of your revenue off of alcohol, off the consumption of alcohol, let's be more frank with it, consumption of alcohol, then you can't bring your firearm in. So the education, right? I do not have any problems with permitless carry. I just want you to get educated. I do not have any problem with you carrying a firearm because it's your right. And TE is right. The government should be paying for that. And if you really want to talk about it, we go back to the 1930s and 1940s, and you can even go up to the 1970s, probably even 80s. A lot of the guys that I talked to, they said when they were in high school, it was a school course to learn how to operate a firearm effectively.
Wow.
Right? And so what happened? Why is that taken away from the schools?
Wow.
Why is that taken away from the schools? Because now, if you learn the right way, the correct way to play with a firearm, you know not to play with it. I taught my children at 10 years old how to operate a firearm. I took them to the range. I showed them what it does.
Yes.
They do not play with my firearms. There's no need to play with firearms because it's not a game.
Yes.
And they know that even if I leave my pistol somewhere or wherever, Dad, you got your pistol right there. Tell me.
Yep.
Go get your stuff. So the education, we often think that we don't want to teach our children about firearms because we don't want them to grow up to be whatever. Right? That is a fallacy. We have to teach our kids how to use a firearm.
I agree.
Right? And we need to teach them as soon as possible. With the FOIA card Act, a lot of people think you have to be 18 years old in order to get your FOIA card. You can be under 18 years old and get your FOIA card. All right, but you have to get your parents' signature. So we don't talk enough. We talk about everything else, but we don't talk enough about firearms, and we don't talk enough about the Second Amendment and how those laws affect our community.
If I can stop you there, so under 18, just because, so long as you have the card, you can legally own?
No.
Okay.
You can only legally possess a firearm in a company in Illinois. In Illinois, that's Illinois only. Right? Different states have different rules.
Yeah, for sure.
So, in Illinois, you can possess a firearm while you're in legal guardian of while you're in the care of a parent or legal guardian when they're taking you hunting. Right? So even more going to we're just going to talk about it, the Rittenhouse case.
I was going to ask you. Let's go. I mean, we here. It is what it is. I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
A lot of our people were mad about the Rittenhouse case and said that he shouldn't have crossed state lines. One of the first things, he didn't cross state lines with that rifle. The second thing is, in Wisconsin, the way the law works, and people were mad at the judge because he dismissed those charges, which he should have. And the reason being is he was legal to carry that firearm because he was 17 years old. And in the state of Wisconsin, per 948.60, that's the law, 948.60, he can possess a rifle. And Wisconsin is a big time hunting state. Right? So 16 and 17-year-olds go hunting on their own all the time. That's what that law was. Now, when they look it up, it may say under 18-year-old can't possess a dangerous weapon. What they considered, and this happened in 1991, what they considered a dangerous weapon was a short barrel rifle or a short barrel shotgun, and also often called a sawed-off shotgun because it was used in crimes or drug-related crimes in 1991. That's why that law was in place. And a lot of people said he should have had that rifle, but he was actually within his legal means to have that rifle. One thing as our community, that if we know the law, we make the law work for us. And if the law's not working for us, we'll be fools not to change them.
Pause.
Right. So
I gotta interject here. Now that's, as I was sharing with TE, that's where a lot of times we have the conflictions or just the issues, because that was the law. You know what I'm saying? But see, when you're dealing with like the hypocrisy of America and us being blacks in America, that's where a lot of the emotionalism comes from, which my answer is always the same. I understand, I overstand, I comprehend, whichever word you want that tickle your fancy, I get it. But how can we begin to grow from there? Like, okay, you had a lot of people get locked up with the cocaine and the crack laws. But now, due to Trump and whoever else may have put in laws, there's a lot of time that's getting reversed. So some of our brothers and sisters are coming home. Was it wrong? Yes. Can we change it? No, we can't change it back then. But that's when we do need to, and I could just, I'm not just talking, but sometimes it does seem that it seems like this resistance is futile, so to speak. But us being able to flex our political power enough and to press to get things changed, I would love to see certain changes. So I said all that to say, a lot of times blacks were like, well, they should have railroaded him. That mess won't fail. What happened when such and such had a gun or didn't have a gun and all that? That's when a lot of the emotionalism comes in. Because one thing that I know, I wrote 2 books on this, Overstanding and Weapons of Mass Destruction. I'm fully aware of propaganda. I'm fully aware of how it's used. And many of our people are so already on edge from everything that's already happened, they don't even be trying to hear the facts. And to me, I think spiritually speaking, briefly, I learned something called the spirit of offense. And generally speaking, once you become offended, you become fenced in, meaning you can't really grow or go past that. Because if you're offended, you're not even willing to receive any information. So you'll rather stand in your offense, which is rooted in pride in some level, and you say, I'd rather stand and hold my pride to say, forget what it is you're talking about, just so I can feel good about holding on to what I'm holding on to. But you're not even listening to the facts. If he was in Wisconsin, this is the law, this is what took place. By law, he got off. Then what's the problem? So I'm gonna ask you this. Supposedly that black guy, I don't remember, you may know because of the memes and stuff. Was it a black guy that was in a similar situation that got off also, that they were?
that was Florida. That was Florida. So the police raided his home. In Florida, the police raided his home and they got into a shootout. They raided his home. I don't know if, can't remember if it was a no-knock warrant or not, but they raided his home. He didn't know who it was. He woke up, he started shooting at the police. The police shot back and they killed his girlfriend. So his girlfriend died. They hit him with the 2 attempt murder charges and they hit him with a murder charge. And he wound up beating all 3 of those. Now, he still faces 30 years because he was a convicted felon with a firearm. I don't even think he should have got that. I don't think he should have been convicted of that. I don't even think he should have been convicted of it. Right? One thing is, even though it's still the law, and I understand, and I'm gonna go by the letter of the law, and that's why they locked him up. I don't think he got 30 years just yet. I don't think he has been sentenced.
30 years.
But
what?
Yeah, Florida is a whole different state when they catch felons with firearms. So he wound up beating the attempt murder and the murder charge because it was found that the police came in unannounced. They went into his house, and when he took the shots, he didn't know who it was. He thought his house was legitimately under attack.
Yeah.
From somebody trying to break into his house. And they said they were serving a warrant for drugs or something like that. But that's one case. Then you have another case of Breonna Taylor where her boyfriend had shot back at the police because they was a no-knock warrant. We have a no-knock warrant.
That's crazy.
You don't know who's coming into your house. You don't have to announce yourself. You don't have to say to the police. Of course, I have the right and every aspect of it to defend myself and my home. My home is my castle. That's where the castle doctrine comes in. Government officials just can't come into your home. If they do, you have the right to defend your home. That's what firearms about. And we talked about earlier Because we talked about everyone having a firearm. It's about us defending ourselves from tyranny, and that goes for every single race that there is. We have to defend ourselves from tyranny, whether we agree with the current administration or not, or past, former, whatever. It doesn't matter. The thing is, we have to defend ourselves from tyranny.
From tyranny?
Us as from tyranny.
Facts.
Right. So us as a Black community, we need to learn the laws and learning where we can and can't carry at, where we're supposed to have a firearm, what firearms are legal. Even in Illinois, there's still firearms that are marked illegal. Then they just beat down the case in California where you couldn't have more than 10-round magazine, I think it is. And in New York State, when TE talk about it, you can't have more than a 10-round magazine.
That is a thing in Cali and New York. Is it what you're saying?
It was a thing. It was in Cali, but now New York still has it in place. But California is going through the court system right now.
Okay.
So it was overturned and said it was unconstitutional. Now it's going up to higher. It may go to the Supreme Court, may not. The Supreme Court may say that they already ruled on it. And then when the Supreme Court say we already ruled on it, then it shouldn't be an issue. Then it will just be law.
Okay. I had a question. I forgot what it was. TE, would you like to share any thoughts on the Rittenhouse situation, or you want to pass on that one?
So Kyle, I'm on the opposite end, or Court, we're on the opposite end. Like, definitely, he's a marksman. I appreciate the fact that, this guy, he shot who he needed to shoot. There weren't any casualties.
No.
Whatever he played, it was textbook. You understand? It was textbook. And I think, again, as Corey mentioned, we need to take a page out of that. I know a lot of people say, if he was Black, if he was that. We need to stop saying if. We need to take notes. Okay, all right. We need to be taking notes on this. And I'm in total agreement with the verdict.
Quick question for both of y'all, real quick, because I plan to. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
One other thing I wanted to add, right? And when our community says if he was Black, he would have been shot. I went to Wisconsin. I've carried my rifle on my chest.
For real?
I'm still alive. I went to Wisconsin. It's nothing. It's 90 miles away from me. I went to Milwaukee. It's only hours, some change away from me. So I went to Michigan. Had my rifle slung across my chest. These are open carry states. We have to get off of that thing. If he was Black, he would have been shot. Guess what? I'm Black, and I ain't been shot.
And that's one of the things, man. That's one of the things, because I get why I've learned to try to not include. If I say we, I'm a part of it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm working to stop doing it. But I understand why people say that. But then again, when I have contrary evidence, I can't partner with your evidence if I got contrary evidence. Not once, not two, but over and over and over again. And at the end of the day, our goal is to change the narrative. But so what I was saying last time, I believe that sometimes our people get so caught up in emotionalism, they don't try to change the narrative. That they no longer will. I said this a long time ago, and I was like, I believe that one reason Blacks don't want to let go of a lot of stuff because our identities have been attached to the struggle. Like if we lose the aspects of the struggle, then we lose the essence of Blackness. So it's like, if I ain't got nothing to complain about for the white people, then I lost a large portion of my Blackness. But it's like, you can't have it both ways, bro. You can't have it both ways, sis. If you want to, not that because, oh man, like this is a whole nother conversation, but like subconsciously so many times because of the subjugation that was there, subconsciously we try to gain that equality. It's just what it is. Because we were subjugated for so long, even when we say we ain't, we always vying for that acceptance. We just are, you know what I'm saying? So it's always this disparity between accepted by them and just being wholesome within ourselves. You know what I'm saying? But it's a challenge. So people like yourself, Courtney, people like TE, people like me and others that are like, look, we are who we are. Let's empower ourselves as much as we can, because at the end of the day, you can't kill racism. You can't kill it. It's alive and well in the hearts of those who decide to be that way. Because in the most general sense, it's as ignorant as ever, because scientifically, biblically, and everything else, they prove it. We are one race. We're more alike than we are different. The only real differences, and again, according to the Bible, was the tongues, the languages, and your practices. Everything else, we all have children. We all have, now, of course, we know blacks, we got the specialty of melanin. I ain't naive, I ain't stupid. But at the end of the day, we're a human race. Humans is humans, fish is fish, birds is birds, dogs is dogs. And that's what it is. And you know, like I know, bro, being in the military, more times than not, they made you work with the other race, because on the battlefield and when it's going down, in the majority of cases, you my battle buddy. All that redneck, nigga, this, that, all that stuff go out the window. When it's real, do you got my back? Because I got your back. And that's just what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I just want to backtrack really quickly so that I'm clear. So when I said that Kyle shot who he needed to shoot, let me use the phrase, he neutralized.
Neutralized.
Who he needed to shoot.
Threat.
Yes, he neutralized.
Oh,
the
thank
threat.
you for bringing that back. Question,
Neutralized
so for
threat.
USCCA, because something that Courtney was saying is what made me think about, because I was going to join and I still probably will. So I'll talk to y'all offline to get the benefits, because I did plan to join for sure. But so you were saying education is important, which I believe. What type of, and I'm gonna just say it, what type of comfort, so to speak, can people like y'all to give to the, now, you know, y'all not babysitters, but I just really want to acknowledge this. What type of comfort can y'all give to the emotional Black people that still feel like that, to make them feel like I can let my guard down enough by educating myself and knowing that a company that I pay got my back? Because that's an insurance type of company. So I don't know if y'all can fully answer that, but how would you really approach it? Because it's kind of one of those things where, like, y'all both educated, y'all both instructors, y'all may have had different experiences. I don't know. I told TE that white police almost killed me in front of my house and in front of my family. So I'm overqualified to speak on, you know, going to war with Whitey. If people want to feel like that, I'm more than qualified for being that, according to the pain that I've experienced. But my relationship with God and my desire to serve man, I was personally, just Marquise, able to overcome that. And I've even mediated between the police and civilians. In Richmond, we got various, they had a group called the Faith Leaders, and I stood up and I'm like, look, I've been in them streets. At the end of the day, a lot of us, them or whoever want to know, y'all got our backs. And if you done beat people down, shot people wrongly, did people like this, it's hard for us to trust you, but you want me to get rid of my guns. You want me to get rid of my drugs. This is crazy. I think y'all should put together a program where y'all truly go and apologize to the civilian. And I'm telling you, all the police in their eyes was on me. And even those of rank, it was looking like, who is this brother? And I ain't do it out of anger, hatred, but I'm like, y'all can't demand all this stuff from us when y'all doing people like this, but y'all don't want us to go to war with y'all. You feel what I'm saying? So I know I threw a lot out there, but to bring it back to the question, what type of consolation or real answer would you say, hey, bro, get some education, learn your laws, and here's an insurance company that'll back you as much as it can. And y'all can kind of have that.
No, but, do you want to take it?
I can certainly give a stab at it. Oh, excuse me, not stab. And so part of it, you know, being that is my background as a licensed social worker, part of that is just recognizing the trauma and acknowledging trauma. It comes from there. You got to start from that aspect, that you got to recognize and acknowledge it. A part of what I do is empathy. That you have to empathize. And you know what? It has to be genuine. People sense and they can sniff out when you're disingenuine, you know, when you're playing, you're a fool. So therefore it has to be genuine. Empathy. And so you also gotta, there's a saying, do as I say, not as I do, right? Growing up, it's the opposite, you know. we have to be trained up as instructors. We're constantly training. We're constantly out there training, where we're practicing.
That's good.
You have to acknowledge those things. And when it's appropriate, like you definitely shared with us, when it's appropriate, I tend to share at times. It's called self-disclose in the field of social work. I self-disclose. People see me, they may not see a felon. However, I have a colorful background, you know, and I share when it's appropriate to let them know, like, look, I was there, you know. And people tend to gravitate when they know that, oh, you have some sort of connection with them. You've been down that path and you were able to, you know, I don't want to say overcome, but you were able to make lemonade at the end of the day. There's a term called, I want to say it's Sankofa, I believe. You have to look back in order to move forward, right? And so you don't want to forget, but you don't also want to carry that baggage where it's going to weigh you down. But it's all about empathy. It's all about recognizing people's trauma, you know. It's recognizing trauma. And for us as instructors, we're students. We can't act like we know it all. You know, we have to be able to sit back and say, oh, okay, I've learned something today. You know, that's a big part of it. To make people feel like they're included, that they're also dropping jewels as well. I personally think if I had it my way, just to go back on how to implement, I think tax credit is very important. How do we give some tax credit to people that are actually taking trainings or whatever the case may be? In addition to tax credit, I really think a lot of our street people, I don't want to say gang members, I don't want to label people, but people that are out there, they should be getting trainings too. I don't know how we go about doing that, but it's really important because there's a lot of people that are missing their target. And I'm not trying to be funny. You know, there's a lot of people that are getting shot, you know, because of people just don't really have the skill set. You know, you want to be a gang member, but you can't shoot straight, you know. So I really think that everyone should be able to come to the range. I know there are some ranges where they don't check background, you know, you just show up. Yeah. So I would really encourage people that are in the streets, go and get some lessons. I'm not trying to be funny. It may sound kind of weird. You know,
sound wild as ever, but I understand.
Do you understand?
You want to reduce collateral damage.
Harm reduction. Yeah. You know, back in the days, when it was like, I don't know if it was the intramuscular, when you were shooting up, what do you shoot up? Whatever that drug is that you shoot up. Heroin. I think it was heroin, whatever it is. They used to go around giving out needles, harm reduction.
They did.
That's a part of it, to reduce HIV, et cetera, et cetera. It's harm reduction, you know? And in that process, while you have that member of the streets that's in the range, you're educating them. You know, you're giving them support. And, you know, you could turn a life around by having a conversation, you know? Wow. And so all that, you know, it's not in vain. It's really calculated. We're not arming them to go out and shoot people, but we're getting them in so we can get them in the fold to provide that support for them, you know, that safe space. Because at the end of the day, they're there for a reason. There's trauma. There's a lot going on. And that's the root of it, getting to the root of the cause. We have to get to the root of the cause, whatever that cause is. Why are you out there, you know, in the streets? And that helped to save a life. You know, that can help to save a life.
Powerful. That is a very different way of looking at it. But I definitely understand. I get it. I totally get it. The same way they would pass out condoms in school.
Condoms.
You're like, well, you encouraging them to have sex? No, but I know they gonna do it. I know they're gonna do it. So to keep down the STDs, to keep down the unwanted, unplanned pregnancies, because I know they're gonna do it. I know they're gonna do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. All right, then they doing it. So you're not encouraging.
No,
I get it. I get it. Awesome.
Trigger discipline. Having good trigger discipline. You know, gotta have the good discipline.
Understandable.
Finger off.
I could encourage more fights or something. You know, just like this guns down, gloves up, which I talked about. What they call it, a shameless plug, my book Overstanding. I talked about that in the book, and even, you know, I've been to some fights here in Richmond, you know, the guns down, gloves up movement. But Courtney, would you like to add something to that before we get ready to wrap up? Anything specifically y'all want to hit on? And if you don't mind, could you feel like talking about your military background at all?
Yeah, I served 8 years in the United States Marine Corps, right? I did 2 tours in Iraq. Just to give a little bit background about my combat experience, I was in one of the most fierce firefights in the beginning of the war. That was the takeover of Baghdad.
Oh wow.
So we were tasked with taking over Baghdad, and to bring that to fruition, not taking anything away from the young dudes in the streets or anything like that, yeah, or anybody that's out there that's scared of firearms or training. It's a different ball game when you get shot at. It's a different ball game when you have an RPG fly over you.
Oh
It's
yeah.
a different ball game when you hear an AK-47 round or 7.62 by 39 whizzing by your head. Also, with the education, also comes with knowing the law and also changing them. I would like to see our brothers that have, that have felonies get their rights back. So what I mean by that, even in Illinois, knowing the law, you went to Virginia and you found out that, hey, with a certain amount of time, you already did all your time in 16 years after your crimes, and you got the rights back. So congratulations on that. Also in Texas, if it's not a forcible felony, what is a forcible felony? Forcible felony is something generally, a lot of states generalize it towards it doesn't involve a victim. So if you sold drugs, or you may get caught with a illegal pistol, or as long as it doesn't, in most cases doesn't, as long as it doesn't involve a victim, you can get your gun rights back. So Texas is 5 years. Illinois, as long as you don't have a forcible felony, it's actually 20 years. 20 years after you have served your time.
Woo! Sheesh. Random question, and you may or may not know. Do you think possibly, and an answer just popped in my head, do you think possibly that was at all related to Illinois and Chicago specifically being like so enveloped with like true gang culture from the Sicilians and Italians? Do you think that may have had anything to do with it, or the fact that a large portion of the blacks from the South traveled up to Illinois? That was the answer that popped in my head, because when I wrote the book, I learned that a lot of our people came from the South and went up to Illinois. Do you think that may have had something to do with it?
All of it has a factor to it. All right, so Illinois didn't even really allow casinos until probably, I want to say 1967. They didn't really allow casinos in Illinois because of the fear of the mob taking over and infiltrating and all of that. So it was for a while. Then actually the gun laws, they actually came from, barring black people from firearms. So we had a lot of people that moved from Mississippi. My family, Courtney, that came from Red Hill, not even Red Hill, but Tupelo, Mississippi, right? Moving up here, it was a whole different faction. And then, of course, a lot of the whites were scared that they were going to lose their jobs, or there weren't going to be enough jobs, because that's where people came for. They came in search of jobs instead of being sharecroppers. They wanted actual jobs. They had benefits and pay. And so they moved up here. And then when those laws came into play, because in Illinois, there really wasn't any laws against firearms. But like I said, in 1968, that's when they changed the laws. That's when they said, we're going to come up with the FOIA Card Act. And in my opinion, let's put it this way, I'm not going to say that it's factual, but in my opinion, they came up with the law at the fact that they wanted to stop black people from getting firearms. All right, so 1968, that's the FOIA Card Act. And I think we have to combat those type of laws. When they say they want to ban AR-15s, no, we shouldn't. Why is that? Because the simple fact is, that's our right to it.
Facts.
That is just as much our right as anyone else. And we have to defend that right. I don't care if you don't like my political agenda. I don't care if you like anyone else's political agenda. Where do we meet in the middle? We meet in the middle with the Second Amendment. We meet in the middle with the Second Amendment. We want to keep our rights to protect ourselves. And what me and T.E. Foster tell our students is there's two things. I tell my students this. you are your first line of defense. No
Word.
matter what, you're your first line of defense. And then when I was in New York and me and her were teaching class together, I asked the question, well, how much is your life worth?
Oh,
If you want to sit there and be idle, you want to buy a firearm, or you want to buy a cheap firearm, or you want to buy a firearm, you want to sit there and you want to be idle with it. How much is your life worth? What's the use of getting a firearm if you don't know how to use it?
word. I appreciate y'all even speaking that way, just to prime my heart to get. I enjoy training anyway, just from my background, but that's definitely put me in the mindset to go be much more adamant of getting some good training. So as we get ready to transition, one thing I wanted to say is interesting about the gun laws in general, but we can see at the end of the day, it's not a gun problem. It's the hearts of the people. We see that overseas.
Exactly.
When England and them ain't got no gun, but they'll stab you up in a heartbeat,
Exactly.
or they'll beat you down with a. I mean, so that again, I try to enlighten people to say that comes down to the propaganda and the crap that they feed you. Stop watching that mess, cause we got guns. We see what go on. They ain't got guns. They still got murder rates. They still got rapists. They still got killings. They still got. So it's a facade. Just let it go. It's a facade, but.
Even in London, they thought about banning knives.
Then we got scissors. Then it's gonna be more vehicular manslaughter. If people gonna kill you, they gonna kill you. That's it. So as she said, dealing with trauma and trying to make different, more internal changes. So I really appreciate y'all time. Do y'all have any closing remarks? Tell people where they can find y'all. Please drop your social media. By all means, drop your social media. I'm gonna put it in the YouTube, because I'm gonna put this on YouTube, so I will put it in the descriptions as well. But for those that may be listening on other platforms, Anchor, Spreaker, so forth and so on, let the people know how to find you. Again, tell them who you are, what you bring to the table, and how they can find you, especially if they're in your area, to come and support your classes and all that type of stuff. Yeah.
All right. G, you want to say it?
Sure. Just in closing, I know that we talk about personal defense and home defense, which is really, really, really important. However, there's so many other things to do with firearms, with guns. You got the competitive shooting. You have collectors. It's an array of things you can do with firearms. So I think for our community, we need to know that our students, our kids, our youths, they can get scholarships. So that's really important to know that out there. But as far as how to reach me, you can certainly reach me on IG at stay_frosty_defensive_tactics. I know it's long. Yes. So
could you repeat that again?
So that's stay_frosty_defensive_tactics. And here's my patch.
Nice.
So you see, we cater to also disabled people that are
Wow.
handy capable, I should say.
So stay_frosty_defensive_tactics with an S.
That is correct. See it right here?
Is that Instagram?
That is IG, yes.
IG, cool. That's dope. Walk good.
And walk good is from my country. That means be careful while you're out there.
Oh, where you from again?
I'm from Jamaica.
Okay. Word. Courtney, yourself? Tell the folks where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram, Red Hill Gunsmithing. All right? Red Hill Gunsmithing.
Closer. Come closer.
0351.
Come closer, Courtney, with it.
Red Hill Gunsmithing.
Yep. Red Hill Gunsmithing. You can find me on Red Hill Gunsmithing. You can find me on Locked and Loaded Firearms Podcast on IG also. And you can find me on Facebook, Red Hill Gunsmithing also. You can find me on Facebook with Locked and Loaded Firearm Podcast. And you can email me at Red Hill Gunsmithing. Red Hill Gunsmithing 0351 at gmail.com.
Awesome.
On Facebook, I'm Foster Stay Frosty.
Frosted, stay frosted, y'all. Hey, I appreciate y'all so much until we meet in person, because I'm definitely coming to both of them areas. I'm definitely gonna get involved in what y'all doing. This has been a dream of mine for some time. I was telling Frosty offline, I mean TE.
That's fine.
I was
Fine.
telling TE offline that, you know, I definitely look forward to partnering and making some things
Building.
happen. Yes, really building with y'all, and because, you know, I believe in it wholeheartedly. You know what I'm saying? I wholeheartedly believe in this, and I'm just so grateful because I got the chance again. You know, so I want to be able to establish that hope in a lot of people, because I never knew that. The only way that I found out you can get your rights back, one day I called the courts and asked them something, and the clerk told me. You know what I'm saying? She was like, "Oh yeah, by the way." And then, you know, I talked to a lawyer. He tried to charge me, you know, like $1,800, and I ain't mad. You gotta get your bag. What you don't know, you don't know. But I called it, that might have been it for real. Might have got my stories mixed up. But the clerk was like, "Oh no, you can just fill out a petition and sign it and bring it to court." I said, "What?" Man, wrote, man. So yeah, that saved me $1,800. You know what I'm saying? But hey, I ain't mad at them.
More money for ammo.
More money. So thank y'all so much. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you. We appreciate you
coming
as well.
on.
Thank you.
So y'all, I
Thank you.
hope y'all enjoyed this episode. Please follow my
Absolutely.
guests. Please go and find them on Instagram, especially if you're in Chicago, especially if you're in New York, and specifically she said Long Island. But just hit her up anyway. You can drive and get you some
Yes.
training, educate yourself. Again,
Leave your guns at home.
community. Huh?
Leave your guns at home. We don't carry here. We know reciprocity.
You heard what she said.
No reciprocity in New York.
Okay.
Yep.
Definitely.
Can't carry
So
that
thank
no
y'all.
either because there's no reciprocity.
Thank y'all for tuning in to the podcast, and we will catch y'all in the next episode. Remember, you think different, you're going to live different. Any questions? Y'all bless.